Hello and welcome to today's YouTube video. I'm so excited because I'm doing something different that I haven't done before. We're going to keep it super relaxed, but I also want to share with you an exciting transformation from my client path, exactly what we did, the protocols for nutrition, the training strategies and everything, all of it insider deets, inside Hourglass world, with how we got Pav, who was already training for the past 4 to 5 years, already showing up, broke past what she thought was possible for her in order for her to see this incredible result where we got her from here to here and here to here. This is about 12 kg loss. Her waist is super snatched. Her hourglass has truly defined and started to come through with so much more definition, so much more confidence. Her belt loop is on the tightest loop. Her clothes are fitting better, all in the space of about 6 to 8 months. And this is more progress than she's seen working together than she has for the past 4 to 5 years of training. Of course, she had that baseline in place, but we really collapsed time for her so we could break past that ceiling of what she thought was possible for her progress in order for her to see this result in the quickest amount of time, in order for her to see this result quicker than she had ever done before. Now, by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what we put in place for Pav to be able to see this result. I will say as a disclaimer, please don't go and follow this, but this is just to show you exactly what we do inside my world. If you're like, oh Sim, I really want to work with you, I really want to be able to see transformation like this, I just want to show you exactly what we do so you can have the insider details with all the different strategies and the way that we work. And if you are interested in working with me one-to-one on your transformation, I'm going to leave a link below so you can fill it out as an application or drop me a DM on Instagram with the word Hourglass, and we can have a conversation about where you want to get to and how we're going to make this happen. Now, bit of a backstory with Pav before we get into the juicy what we actually did. She was already training, as I said, 4 to 5 years in the game. She's a strong girl. She was showing up to the gym, early sessions, pushing really heavy, hitting PBs like never before, and she absolutely loved strength training. And when I say strength training, I don't just mean lifting heavy, but she loved to push past her potential in the gym, hitting PBs every single session and spending around 1.5 hours, 2 hours in the gym in order for her to see progress. So let's just say this, she wasn't a newbie to the gym, she was already showing up, she was putting in the reps, no pun intended, and she was already quite disciplined and she was showing up as best as she could. And with her nutrition as well, she was super locked in and she was really putting in the work with tracking her calories, being super strict and disciplined with her meal preps, etc. But when she hired me, she had already gone through the process over the past 4 to 5 years of seeing some results, but never really being able to push past that ceiling. She saw results where she got to a position where she was super happy, and then it would all kind of not be able to stick with her for a long time, right? My goal for her inside Hourglass world was to really bring in optimization, strategy, and effective phases so we could actually transform her physique in the way that we did. And also an important thing for Pav to note was that she didn't want to shrink herself to the smallest version of herself. She wanted to build muscle. She wanted to have a snatched waist, big glutes, nice legs, and have a nice, strong, feminine snatched physique without just getting slimmer, right? And this is what we do inside Hourglass world, building the best version of you, juicy glutes, snatched waist, without shrinking to the smallest version. This is why typical fat loss methods don't work if you're looking to get hourglass and snatched and sexy compared to just getting slim. There's a whole different ball game. Now, the first thing that we did when Pav joined my world was to do a proper deep dive into her training, her nutrition, her mindset, her cycle, her routine, her habits, so we can see just what her normal day-to-day is looking like, what normal habits she has in place, how far she's come already, because that's super important inside Hourglass world to really be able to understand where your starting position is, because that's the baseline that we take things from to elevate different pillars within your journey. So say for example, everyone's pillars inside Hourglass world looks different, but for Pav, her 4 pillars of transformation were nutrition, effective training strategy following the Hourglass method, we've got steps, and then we've got her overall routine. Then we've got her accountability. So in each of these pillars, I'm asking, where is she at with the nutrition? What has she tried? What has she done? What is she currently eating? What is she currently doing on the weekends? For her training, what's her current strength looking like? What's her PBs looking like? With her steps, what is her current movement level looking like? And then we've got her accountability, which was definitely the biggest pillar that we worked on. Especially because she was a woman who was already showing up for herself. When we added in that extra layer of what's going on, that's when things started to come to the surface and she started seeing even more progress. So let's first of all break down the first pillar, which is training. As I said, Pav before Hourglass World, she was training about 5 to 6 times a week, going super heavy, training for a very long time at the gym, long sessions, and she was pushing hard, you know, with consistency, with her weights, right? And all of these things, what I picked up on was that yes, she was pushing super hard, she was doing all of these things, but this is what I like to call perceived effort versus actual effort. Now, perceived effort is the effort that you think that you're putting in, but that effort, unfortunately, and I say this with love, sometimes does not actually equate to you seeing the progress that you want to see. Like you may think, oh my gosh, I'm going to the gym and I'm pushing so hard, I'm getting all these PBs, I'm literally going at 6 a.m. in the morning, so you feel like the shit, which as you should because you're putting the work in. But if you're not analyzing your data, if you're not analyzing that you've been doing the same split for the past 5 years and nothing's really been changing for you, then something's got to change, right? Because you can't keep training in the same way if you're not seeing the results. And this is what I was seeing with Pat, because she'd already been consistent for the past 4 to 5 years, kind of training in the same way. That's where we had to make those elevations straight away. Now, when she came into my world, she said to me, she's like, Sim, is that it? And that is it, because sometimes you don't need more. You don't need to add more training, add more cardio, add more whatever. You need to actually get optimized, which is what we do inside Hourglass World. So that way you can spend less time in the gym, doing less and seeing more fucking progress. And that's what we want, that's what we want. So when she joined Hourglass World, we dropped her sessions down to shorter sessions. And then we planned in sessions that were ranging from about 3 to 5 times a week. And these sessions were actually in planned mesocycles following an Hourglass specific strategy. So what we've done here is we've dropped her sessions down, not just in the frequency in the week, but the actual time that she's spending in the gym. So she can be in and out very quickly and come home, go to work, still have energy to spend time with her family, with her friends, with her partner, with her dog, you know? And instead of always pushing super heavy, we actually had planned mesocycles, which is what some women fail to do. And this is what I see. I always see online, people are like, and fitness influencers and whatever, when they share their workouts, that you should be doing the same thing every single week, week in, week out. On the other side, you see influencers posting different workouts every single week, and you go into the gym and you're doing these different things in the gym every single week, right? But there needs to actually be a sweet spot from where you are following specific programs of specific exercise selections, specific exercise order, and a specific way of training. Because what Pav was doing before, when she was pushing super heavy, she was always pushing for strength, always pushing for the heaviest weights possible, pushing for PBs. But when we have planned mesocycles, we actually have different phases that we follow strategically, planned in with your energy levels, with your cycle, with your aesthetic goals, and we balance that in with your actual lifestyle, what's going on and what you're actually capable of. Because if you imagine yourself just going through the week, you can't actually continue to progressively overload and continue to push heavier every single week. It's just not ideal, it's not realistic, and it's going to leave your energy feeling quite deflated, right? So when we have planned mesocycles, these range from about 8 to 16 weeks depending on the client, and for Pav, this was something that we ranged from about 10 to 12 weeks with each different phase. And as I said, each different phase has a different focus. Each different phase has a slightly different goal and a slightly different way of training. And for Pav, this was more focused towards the areas in her body that she wanted to develop. For example, her back, her waist, her legs, her glutes. So the frequency of the exercises depends on exactly what she wants to achieve. And when it comes to the Hourglass specific strategy, this isn't just about the exercise selection that we're using, but it's about the rep ranges. How many sets are we doing? Because All I see online is 3 by 8 times 12, or then we've got, you know, 5 sets of 5 for strength. That does not work to create an Hourglass specific strategy, because not every single set has to be pushed for 3 to 4 sets. But it also depends on your physique goals in terms of how you're pushing. Training with intent, making sure that every single rep is going to be the one that's going to be growing your glutes and snatching your waist, right? Because as I said, Pav already knew how to train. She already had good form with squats, deadlifts, RDLs, etc., etc. So what we really need to focus on is making sure that now we're going beyond just progressive overloading with weights. We're looking at different ways and different methods of progressive overloading, which comes down to range of motion, which comes down to training till failure, really getting to understand Pav's body and where we can refine and make those tweaks to really elevate everything with her training so that she can see more progress than she had ever before. And we weren't training for PBs all the time. We weren't pushing really super heavy. We were being strategic. We were being optimized. And just because Pav isn't pushing heavy, or if someone is not pushing heavy, it doesn't mean they're not seeing results. As I said, perceived effort versus actual effort. The actual effort is analyzing the data to see, okay, is this going to help me to grow my glutes and snatch my waist and get Hourglass and lose 12 kg? Yes, let's do this. Not just what you think is going to be helping you. And the shorter sessions and planning them in really allowed for her to be really optimized within her sessions and really allow her to be in and out super quick. So we're not spending 2 hours setting up the hip thrust bar and setting up the deadlift platform, because although yes, that's fun, but there's a time and place for it. And especially with Pav being a really busy woman, you know, a lot of things going on, a dog to look after, partner, a really high demanding career, it's not ideal to be always pushing as hard as you possibly can. My goal for you in Hourglass world is to save you as much time as possible so that you can actually live your life outside of that and still get incredible results. And now we have my favorite part, which is the nutrition. Because none of my clients are on a freaking diet inside my world. Like, that is not what we do. Because who wants to be in a diet? Not me. Who wants to eat chicken and rice? Not me. I'm not Pav either. So when it came to the nutrition, what we did was we actually had a different strategy. Now, Pav was actually working with me for quite a long time, about a couple of years. So obviously we had different phases within that where, you know, when she was traveling, but overall, just across this first 6-month batch that I'm showing you with the progress with the 12 kg, we actually had a strategy where on the weekends, we weren't tracking. She was going out, she wasn't constantly on MyFitnessPal checking how many calories is this, how many calories is that, right? But the only way that she could have that on the weekends is because we had a different strategy from Monday through to Friday, which she was super locked in on. Because so many people think that they can get results by being balanced across the whole week. But when you see these girls with the body that you want, or they're looking super good and you're like, damn, she's eating a burger on the weekend, she's eating this, she's eating that. But what you don't see is what they're doing behind the scenes for them to be able to have that balance on the weekends, right? Because it's, at the end of the day, it's probably not balanced. There's so much that goes into it, and there's so much that, you know, you need to plan for in order to actually see a result. I could sit here and sell you dreams and say, look, you can have a balanced week and still see progress. You could have sweet treats here and there and still see progress. And look, you probably can, but you're not here just to see a little bit of progress. And with Pav, we did have a season where we went all in, right? But we also had seasons where we had balance. Again, you have to plan these things. You have to plan so that you can have that balance. So Monday through to Friday, we had a strategy where we were eating around 800 calories to about 2,000 calories. So again, we're eating a lot of food, And this is why my clients get sick results, because we know how to plan the week with the calories, not just with calorie banking, but actually understanding what your body needs on that specific week, because we plan each specific week for fat loss, what meals are coming up, you know, where you're going to eat, what restaurant you're going to, so you don't have to think about anything. And I'm just telling you exactly the protocols that you need to follow for that specific week. And this is why Pav saw progress on the scale every single week. This is why my clients in general see a win every single week. And the next thing that we implemented, which Pav wasn't before, is looking forward into the 6 months and planning the breaks, planning the maintenance breaks that we're actually going to be having. So for example, if I know that Pav is going away on holiday with her partner, with her family, she's got a long weekend away in Italy, or if she's going away for a week to Tenerife, we know, okay, cool, that's that little milestone, and that's where we're going to be planning the maintenance break. Because so many women go into their fitness journey, they go into fat loss, and they're just going, and it comes a time where their progress is not progressing anymore, or they're stuck at a scale weight that they want to push past from, but all you keep doing is adding more cardio. You reduce your food even further. But sometimes you actually need to plan in a break for yourself. But then again, you can't just plan in this break randomly. You gotta know when your body needs it. And that only comes from working with a coach and understanding your specific body to the level where you know what your body needs, how it's gonna respond, and when to actually put this in. So with these planned breaks, it's so great for physical progress, and this isn't about resetting your metabolism or anything, but it's genuinely playing around with maintenance calories, playing around with deficit calories, so you can actually just reset your body to continue seeing more progress. And then from a mental perspective as well, it just gives you a break from tracking calories, which means when you come back from this planned break, you're going to be able to stick to your calories. You're going to be pushed through that second phase of fat loss to then see more progress. And this is the beauty of just planning your phases, not just with training, as we mentioned before, but with nutrition. So we can see when to actually line up these maintenance breaks with somewhere that you're going on holiday. So that way you can actually, and this is what Pav used to do, she used to fully enjoy herself. She used to eat whatever she wanted. She used to go on the weekends and go out for food and not track it and still see 12 kg down. I don't want you to live a life where you're feeling stuck with eating a meal plan, diet plan, because I want you to have control. I want you to have flexibility, but still have that structure, which is why every single client, and I don't want you to go follow this, because every single client is going to be so different. Some of my clients, we implement a strategy where they have 3 to 4 different options for each meal, right? Some of my clients, we implement, for example, Pav, Monday through to Friday, she's got a calorie goal. And on the weekend, we don't have a calorie goal, but we still have things in place that she's following in the back of her head to know what she's going for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. So there's a nice balance, but we've still got that structure that she knows she has to follow. And if we take it back to what Pav was doing before, she was constantly in and out of a calorie deficit. She'd eat healthy, she'd be eating in a calorie deficit, but there was no planned structure behind when and what specific phases that link to her training is going to be in a calorie deficit, when we're coming out of it, what her calorie deficit actually looks like, and what the macros within actually look like as well. Because yes, she was using a calculator online, but the calculator only understands your age, your height, your weight, your email address, but it doesn't actually understand your life. It doesn't actually understand that you've got a dog that you like to take out on the weekends. It doesn't understand that you and your partner like to go out for meals. So when you actually understand what your body and what your mindset, what your lifestyle requires from you, that's when it becomes super easy for you to plan in your nutrition strategy based on that, rather than trying to fit your life, your whole big life, into just a calorie number. And that's what we look at inside Hourglass World, by putting the goal inside your life rather than the other way around. And next up, we have the most important, which is the accountability. Now, accountability, especially for somebody who is already not a newbie to the gym and already showing up and knows what they need to do, is often the women who don't actually stick to it. Now, stay with me here, because I was the same. I knew I've been training for 10 years, and I've shared my story on this channel and on my Instagram, where I went through a period in my life when I lost myself. I have all the knowledge in the world. I've invested tens of thousands of pounds into my learning, mentorships, coaches, mindset coaching, everything in order to be the coach that I am today. But this is the thing, when you already know so much, who is holding you accountable to doing those things that you need to be doing, right? This is why inside Hourglass World, accountability is such a big thing, because it's not just, hey, how much weight have you lost? It's about getting to understand yourself on such a deeper level of why you're doing the things that you're doing, right? So every single week when we'd have a check-in with Pav, we'd understand and we'd look into what's gone well, what have you struggled with, you know, what came up for you this week in terms of maybe cravings, or what's come up for you in terms of energy, what's working, what's not. So we look at the physiological data, which includes training, nutrition, your cycle, all of those things, energy, sleep, but then we also combine that with looking at the details of your mental health and your mindset, so that we can build such a deep understanding and combine this together to get to the deepest layer of understanding yourself. And that is then what forms your habits, and that is what we then take as your baseline to make tweaks and elevate going into the next week, to make that next week even better based on the information of your physiological data and your mindset / mental health data as well. Because you can't tell me that you're gonna go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but then last week you didn't go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then just set that same goal again. Why didn't that happen? What are we going to do differently to make sure that does happen? And sometimes this solution is going to look different for every single client. Sometimes it might be energy, sometimes it might be sleep, sometimes it might be the fact that you're tired, sometimes it might be the fact that cycle, sometimes it might be something to do with your mindset, sometimes it might be to do with planning, right? So we get to the root of why that's happened so we can solve it, move forward, have an even better week. And this is why, as I said, my clients get results every single week. Because I'm not just telling you that you fucking got this, let's go. You don't need another, you got this babe. You need a, why is this happening? How can I change it? And how can I actually stay consistent this time and actually get to the end and see results like Pav? And this is a thing as well, like my clients who get the best results, they're so open and honest with their communication. We're on WhatsApp every single day. They're taking pictures of their food. They're telling me what they've done. They're telling me what they're struggling with. They're telling me I've got a meal coming up. How do I approach this? They're very intentional with messaging me, having that open communication so that number one, I can support you through those things in real time. And number two, actually provide you with that accountability of what to do and making sure that if you said you're going to do something, that you've actually done it. But then also not from a place of like, why didn't you do it? But from a place of, okay, let's dig deep into what's actually happening and how we can make sure that you are seeing those wins every single week. So just to give you a real life example, let's say one of the weeks, Pav was working really long shifts and she wasn't able to hit her step target, right? And that's cool. I don't expect any of my clients to be perfect every single week. As you can see, Pav lost 12 kg without being perfect every single week, going out on the weekends, eating nearly like 1,800 calories. And that's just a dream come true if you ask me. So what happens then is we actually break down your full routine to see where we can actually fit those steps in, because so many women, and this is what Pav would do before, is just leave it up to chance and say, oh, I didn't get my steps in, that's all right, cool, we'll go again next week. Next week, same things happen, same thing happens, week after week after week. But if you don't sit down and analyze what's going on, and you don't change it, you don't tweak it, you don't adapt it, then nothing will ever change for you. And Pav also had to put a lot of trust in me as her coach to really switch up her whole training style, because the split was different, the exercise selection was so different, because you have to be able to change things that are not working. Because right now, if you're watching this in your same position, you're like, Sim, I've been training for so long, I'm not a newbie to the gym, I know how to squat, I can do so much heavy weights on hip thrust. But my girl, if you're not changing, if you're not seeing results, then something's got to change, right? And as I said, these are Pav's specific pillars that we looked at: nutrition, training, accountability, and also, as I mentioned, the optimization side of it. But that comes into everything that I've just spoken about anyway, with the training and nutrition, how we optimized it. You have to change something within your pillars. Every single one of my clients has such different pillars within their journey. Yours might look different. And this is the beauty with understanding yourself on this level and one-to-one coaching, because I can see from a mile away what exactly needs to change. Like for example, with Pav, when we had that first initial deep dive onboarding call, I was like, yep, that needs to change, that needs to change. Okay, you've been doing that with your nutrition, that needs to change straight away. And being able to pick up on these things to be able to then elevate, that's when my clients really just push past what they thought was possible for them and see all of that incredible progress. Because let's be honest, you already know the basics on like, oh, I need to eat protein, I need to do this, I need to train, I need to eat well, I need to eat healthy. But specifically, what is your pillars? What do you need to elevate? What do you need to tweak? If you want me to go over that with you and have a jump on a call or have a conversation in the DM so we can discuss it, drop me the word Hourglass on Instagram or fill out the form in my bio. Then we can have a look at what's really holding you back from taking you to your next level, because I want to see you win. And unfortunately, you've got to sometimes change how you're doing things to be able to see that happen the same way that you've seen with Pav.